Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Why Americans can't drive manuals? I don't know. Why can't they? Probably because in one hand, they have a Big Mac and fries and a milkshake in the cup holder as well. They gotta juggle all of those items, throw in a cell phone, and what are they gonna do? Use both hands to drive? Jokes aside, I do really enjoy driving manuals, stick shift. It's a good time. It's fun. You feel like a race car driver for a little bit. I don't have a manual now, but I wouldn't mind having one. I had a Volkswagen Passat, and that thing was wonderful. Hugged the road so beautifully. Just a great vehicle. Another thing is, Americans and Canadians too. Like in the big cities, you can get absolutely awful traffic. That's in part due to North America's obsession with vehicles dominating the streets and the cities, and also just infrastructures not supporting, at least to the level or degree of some European cities, of public transit and city planning, which makes things more walkable, more walkability, and just more mixed use areas. You're able to walk, get groceries, walk, go to coffee, walk, do lots of things. Whereas a lot of places in North America, especially specifically when you get out to these suburban areas, which are just copy after copy after copy of the same area, and they can be eerie and dead zones in terms of cycling or walking. But let's see, why can't Americans drive manuals? I bet a lot of Americans still drive manuals, but let's go.
Well, can you blame them? When your cities are built as grids with stop signs and red lights every few meters, it's just annoying to have a manual. Starts and stops are the only hard thing about
Look at that photo, it's crazy.
Driving stick, and US roads are just stop signs after stop signs. Here in Sweden, I used to do my daily commute without coming to a full stop a single time. When you have a 75 horsepower and a bad clutch, you kind of learn how to time your entry into roundabouts. But Americans don't have roundabouts. And even when they make it onto the highway, it's still...
They do have roundabouts. You're kind of...
just constant start and stop. So it's not that surprising that the first mass-produced automatic was made by GM. They had developed and perfected them during the Second World War, but they weren't efficient at all. Early designs like GM's Hydromatic, introduced in the 40s, sacrificed fuel economy for convenience. But in the US, this trade-off didn't matter as much. As one of the few countries that weren't turned to rubble during the 40s, they had a lot cheaper gas. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, European countries were dealing with higher fuel prices and tighter streets, making manuals the more practical choice for efficiency and control. Over time, automatics became the standard in the US, with manufacturers focusing on
I bet, and it's just a guess, but I would venture a guess that automatics and the use of automatics has been trending way up in Europe as well.
Improving their reliability and affordability.
It's not like everybody
by the 60s.
It's not like everybody in Europe's driving manuals. In
most American cars offered automatics as the default option. Europe, however, didn't start to develop their own automatics until later, and by then manuals were the norm. It was a hard sell when they were expensive, shifted slowly, and used more fuels. Europeans were already used to driving manuals. We had denser cities with less traffic, so it was never a problem. Even in the 2000s, manuals were just a lot cheaper, so people would still buy them. At the time, about 90% of all cars sold in Europe were manuals, while in the US it was only 20%. There's also a difference between how you get your driving license in the US. In most states,
in the US, you just walk up and slap your social insurance, like whatever they need from you, and they'll just give you a license. Real easy.
You can take your driver's test in an automatic, but still get a license to operate a manual. That's why you see videos like this of people thinking they can learn on the way home from the dealership.
What is this?
Yeah, that's not a smart idea.
Spoilers, they won't. Your dad needs to scream at you at least 4 times before you get the hang of it. In Europe, you have the option to take your test in an automatic, but then you'll only be allowed to drive an automatic. So people took the manual license to be allowed to drive everything. People just bought manuals because they were cheaper. Same in the US, people bought automatics because they were cheaper over there. But manuals have started to get less common in Europe too. In 2023, only about 32% of new cars were manuals.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of reiterating what I said earlier. I bet it's even more 2 years later.
However, it was only 1% in the US. And more people are opting to get
1% of
automatic
manuals,
license
wow.
too. When I took my
That's still
license,
pretty
about
significant.
half of my friends opted for automatic. Mostly because their family didn't own a manual car, so they couldn't practice with one. But it's just in the last few years that Europe has started using autos. Mostly because of the rise of hybrids and electric vehicles. And well, automatics have gotten really good in the last years. For daily driving, they don't consume much more fuel than your average driver would. And they shift fast nowadays. If you have a car from like 2005, it will probably feel kind of slow and non-reactive. Or maybe my dad's old X90 needs a transmission flush. Because in that, when you put your foot down, it takes a while for it to shift down and then it revs up, but nothing really happens, it just makes a nice noise. It feels kind of like the clutch is slipping for a while before it starts to accelerate. But like a new DCT doesn't have these problems. And I get it, it just...
Well, I'm going to drive my vehicle into the ground and just use my bike if I have to.
nicer to daily and automatic. You can text and talk on phone easier, and you can drink while driving. No, I'm just kidding. Don't
I was going to say, what are you talking about?
do that. But like having a snack or drinking water is a lot easier when you don't need to shift. It's just a more comfortable drive. I know there are gonna be comments like automatics are boring or they have no soul. Yeah, most drivers don't give a shit about that. They only use their car to get to places, and they want the driving to be as easy as possible. Yes, for a weekend car I'd want a manual, but I wouldn't be bored driving a new 911 or a Lamborghini or a GTR. Most of my fanbase drives manuals, but people like us who like cars and driving for the sake of driving are a minority of drivers.
Yeah, driving for the sake of driving and car enthusiasts, like that's not going to be the majority of drivers. Most people are just commuting, like you said, they just want to get from A to B. They don't care.
Most people just drive for their daily commute. That's why 99% use automatics, and that's why Europe is closing in. If you want to chat about this, I live stream on Twitch. And if you found yourself watching a few of my videos, please consider subscribing.
Shout out to him. Yeah, I really enjoy driving manuals. Like I said, like every time I get a chance, I'm like, ooh, like yeah, I get to drive a manual. This is gonna be fun. Because it is. It's more interesting. It's more engaging. You're a lot more engaged in the activity of driving, and you get to accelerate as quickly as you like. But yeah, traffic lights, it can be kind of annoying, right? In a standard. We call them standards here. I don't know if you guys call them standards as well. If there's any Europeans or people from Europe watching, go check out his channel. Seems like a good dude. I liked it, the video, and also subscribe to mine. That'll help. That'll help a lot. All right, we'll see you soon. I definitely prefer a horse-drawn carriage, though. If I had to say, like, horse-drawn carriage would be my number one pick for travel and transportation. All right, or hot air balloon, one of those two.